dive under the ocean to go and cut a few of the submarine cables, fiber optic cables. I mean,
Out of God. Out of
Well, I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? You're very right.
Force majeure.
Force majeure.
Yeah, a very big majeure force.
You know, I was making the point. This is a major national security issue.
True.
For your entire countries, and this, from the statement I saw, multiple fiber optic cables. This is not just one that you can repair. There's multiple, right? And all the networks are affected. So you possibly are seeing that you're struggling to watch us today. Yeah. It's fine. We understand that. We're all struggling.
We can't even get it there ourselves, but we're told that, internet is stable.
But before you came on, your internet was very stable. What are you doing?
To download.
But that's the most difficult thing you should be able to do.
Yes, I'm unsure why that's possible with him.
I just downloaded something that was posted on a page that I am.
So we can send you things.
I actually sent documents earlier, but let's see.
No,
it's not enough, so you can, there are times you're able to download.
Yeah, I mean, the whole morning. And the prayer is that they can resolve it somehow. I mean, I don't know how they managed to resolve this in a day. It was multiple under submarine cables.
It doesn't look like
something they can pull off in a day.
I'm trying to download, so I'll be able to download this for instance.
It's very, very quickly.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Anyway, it's on and off.
Are you still using the same networks that we are aware of?
The same network, my brother.
But you're on the same network as I am right now.
Yes.
But I can't download anything.
I know the funny part. I was afraid because, but they told me no, that would not be affected. I use the eSIM.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So electronics, they just send some code to your phone and all of that. But they say, you can still take calls. Those ones can do it. It's not. In fact, it's not so everything is completely down. I can read the message when you send it to me. It's the attachments that would be impossible.
I've sent ordinary WhatsApp messages.
It's not going through.
Messages, yes, and it hasn't been.
Wow. I actually got a message from earlier. I was having a similar problem. I got a message from Ken Ashibe, and I said, "Chief, I can't open it." Actually, and he said, well, it's part of the problem. He was telling me about, the response of, to the challenges that we're going through. And I said, Chief, I can't open it. He says, yes, part of the problem.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know why my network is slightly different. I won't mention their names, they have their own challenges already. But I think it's the network on which I have my WhatsApp. It's where I guess a challenge. Because ordinary message, no attachment.
Well, that should not be a problem.
No, it hasn't been delivered.
Yeah, because even when I was having those issues, we could still actually get
the messages.
I sent this ordinary message at 12:56, and it still hasn't been delivered. No attachment, nothing, just hanging in there. And one also at 12:18, and this hasn't delivered. Either it's my phone or it's the network. But listen, I mean, talking about networks and connections.
Yeah, so it's not your partner that's playing tricks on you. I know some of you have trust issues. So, relax.
Very important.
There's a national problem.
There's a national problem that needs to be faced. Talking about networks and connections, etc. There's a certain connection between man and woman that has been generating a fair bit of controversy over the last few years now, but of course, intensifying in the last few weeks. The president has still decided, as far as the LGBTQ anti-gay bill is concerned, he's going to wait for a certain Supreme Court decision. And he made that pronouncement even before the case went to the Supreme Court. Now, there is a significant bit of agitation among the Christian and the Islamic community about this subject. But why has it become such a contentious matter? Especially that this has been litigated in Parliament for over a year. Everybody knew
since 2021.
Everybody knew a date like this will come. That it will be passed. And Parliament, because again, it was unanimous, I guess, appreciation of the subject in Parliament. It was unanimous. If there was silent opposition, it was silent. Nobody objected to it. But the president knew a deal like this would come. Maybe they were hoping it would come in an election year. But it arrived in an election year. Has that changed the dynamics in any way?
Oh, no, yes. It has affected a lot of things. For example, if the president started, if they passed last year, there were a lot more. I mean, the economic situation was perhaps everybody's biggest headache last year. So, on one hand, people would have been willing to say, oh, well, they say they will not get us an IMF deal. You get on track, even though it's unrelated. There's nowhere in the world the IMF have refused a deal, a substantive deal to a member of the IMF because of this particular point.
In fact, as we speak, they've approved deals for Uganda.
Yes, countries that have similar.
far draconian.
Yes, actually, more serious ones. The ones that say you are going to be killed. No, those ones, they have actually done so. So, but that conversation could be had. That, well, where our economy was and the kind of situation we found ourselves, there's no way you should throw in some of these things. And some people may accept that. But still, there will still be some opposition to it. Secondly, we've got to the point where we are in March, right? They are almost into April. A couple of months, less than 6 or 7 months from now, there'll be an election. Every serious matter of state is a political issue. It requires political decision making. It counts towards whether or not you win or lose an election. But this matter is one of the issues that throughout time immemorial, there's been so much consensus on it. We are divided over so many issues in this country.
This one, there's no.
This one, there is unanimity at the highest level. Even when CDD, your own survey actually came out, over the years, what has happened is what people felt should be done to people who are actually in same-sex relationships. So that one is without doubt.
So that begs the question. So if that's the case, why is the president dithering on the matter?
Because I think people should know that President Acquah has been part of the problem where we are today. If he had been like others, gone with the flow and said not said things like bound to happen when there's significant what they call it a massive critical population that pushing for it, then when he realized that was problematic, he went to Kumasi and said, oh, well, it says Cyprian Oceans, one of those churches. In the church, he said, it will not be on his watch that they will legalize same-sex marriage in this country. But that was not the substantive issue we raised at first. I hope you get the point. So this bound to happen and all things, we're driving towards recognition and legal acceptance of homosexual relationships in the Republic of Ghana. So those were two things. You get my point. The married part, in fact, there are countries who are still very much inclined, but have not reached the marriage level yet. It was not where we were. So there was doubt in the minds of the people right from the beginning that President Acquah would be on board. Even the last statement he issued before he told everybody about a suit that most of us were not aware of, a suit that came probably later on. That particular statement was pregnant with a lot of things. The president sought to say that we had a human rights record. By passing this bill, by assenting to it, we were going to roll back. You get the point? That was a very terrible statement to make for a man who is not making a decision on the matter. You've already signaled that you are opposed to the bill.
But Winston, this is my conundrum. Okay? It's clear that he's a politician, first and foremost, a president. There is political capital to be gained from signing the bill, and there's political jeopardy for not signing. Right? We don't disagree on this matter.
Don't disagree.
Okay. So if that's the case, you are in an election year, why is the president not signing? Because if you sign, there's political advantage there. If you don't, there's political jeopardy.
I mean, you're very right. If you sign, there's political advantage. But maybe if you don't sign also, and so you can see that if you don't sign, there's economic jeopardy.
If you don't sign,
I mean, as in, if you sign,
there's economic jeopardy. Because IMF and co.
But IMF doesn't
do that. Yeah, I mean,
that's not in doubt.
Yeah, it's not. That's
We won't get money from World Bank.
World Bank and all, but that's not even.
So the total of 300
and again,
and 3.8 billion over a 6-year period. But this is the problem. You see, Raymond was making a point earlier. The bound to happen, even though the president continues by saying, but for now, that is not an issue in Ghana. If the president's response had been, this is not an issue in Ghana.
like the Kenyan president
exactly.
said, like the Zimbabwean president said.
I am not
basically all his colleagues have said
I am
before.
not going to discuss an issue that is not a priority in my country. It would have actually saved him all these problems. But the moment you say it is bound to happen, then people would now begin to say, how about we start the advocacy?
With a little push, it will get there.
We'll get there. But let's leave that one. You've asked the question. There's political, capital. Why not? Oh, I signed it. But who is Acquah? And how does Acquah see himself? How does Acquah see himself post his presidency? Is a question we'd have to be asking ourselves. Does he want to be involved in Ghanaian politics or he wants to be an international statesman?
Well, maybe.
If he wants to be an international statesman, then the conversation will be he signed that thing into law. This is a man who doesn't respect rights of people. Think about that for a minute.
So this is the president's personal interest over party national interest.
I'm actually throwing out.
I mean, but if this is state of play, don't throw out options.
I've shown you.
Okay, let me drill down the options. President Acquah, if you have checked, consistently has been perhaps more interested in his international reputation than what you and I think about him.
Well,
let's be clear. Look at the kind of statements, the kind of things you react to out there. If Al Jazeera does something on a gold something, he react quickly. If it were to be from a local institution, well, I mean, it's not a big deal for him. Maybe they'll issue a statement. Even it reached the point that many were worried about crisis in the country, his responses to them, compared to how he reacted to external institutions. Even a French Roman Catholic building.
Yes. Notre Dame.
So and the kind of statement that issued.
So the point is that President Acquah is concerned about his international reputation. And that concern about his international reputation is what could actually be delaying him and preventing him from signing this. But this is the problem. President Acquah always knew that this day was going to come.
Yes.
Because if you didn't put in place any measures to prevent the bill from being passed, it was going to be passed. And this is the only bill that we've had in this country that has had bipartisan support. Even those who are against are not able to talk. Recently, I've seen some of the MPs, trying, and they say, I don't see why people should go to have custodial sentence. But they were in Parliament.
Yes, and
they were in Parliament.
And the funny part is that they had the opportunity to go to that committee, argue like the way civil society people went to do the same thing. The 300 memoranda that was submitted did not include Afenyo Makin's most recent engagement.
Even those on the floor of Parliament had issues about the usage of sex toys and all of that. Ended up saying, but I support the bill.
Yes.
So this is even Afenyo Makin. When you ask him, he says, well, I support the bill. Let's take out the custodial sentence.
The hypocrisy in all of this is that the people who may be against this bill are not able to speak out because there is general consensus that Ghanaians want this bill. So if you speak against it, then you are speaking against the will of the people and you'll be found wanting. What is Acquah trying to do? Acquah is only trying to buy time. This case may not be listed in the Supreme Court as one of the urgent cases to be listened to. And now the president has told you that, because the case has gone to court, he would want to wait for the pronouncement of the court. He wouldn't sign it.
Another very strange position in office.
Yes, because we saw
mindful of his history on these matters.
So he wouldn't sign it. But this is the point. If his refusal to sign would eventually hurt his own party.
No, but that is the conversation we are having.
I
will most certainly help.
Look, the NDC,
and it would have been better if the bill was still in Parliament. And sometimes, you see, I saw the poorest display of what they call it, filibustering. It's what Afenyo Makin did. Do you know why? He had all the time through the laying process when they brought the first one to raise so many other issues that needed more thinking. Some of the issues he brought subsequently were easily disposed of. So it became difficult for people to believe, or even his own colleague MPs, if he had, let's say, the support of 5 more of his own MPs, raising similar issues, each of them has a day to present that. We would have gone into the next week, there would have been an agenda, the Parliament will say that let's defer it to the other meeting. I hope you get the point. With all the pressures coming on board, this matter of custodial sentencing would have been given a lot of airplay and discussions outside, which may influence what happens in Parliament. And then we make a decision finally on the matter. Even on that premise, if it was that, and I've seen people do that before, and people, in fact, when the gentleman who wrote the parliamentary book recently talk about Papo's competence in filibustering, that the man is able to stand on his feet, then they have to suspend the sitting for a while. He comes back and continues that he has a big book to actually present. That it's only fair that his people are heard and properly heard on the matter. Then they move on consistently. Then it comes the next day, the third day. Mindful of the fact that the Parliament is rising a couple of days from that particular time.
And mindful of the fact also that Parliament has other businesses.
Yes.
And so this is not a priority bill. This is a private member's bill. It's not government business.
Are you guys suggesting that strategically they got it wrong?
They got it wrong because if they were against
the best strategy was to stall it in Parliament.
Evans, if they were against it, if if the president, I don't know whether the president didn't foresee this day happening, but if they were against it, then they should have prevented the bill. But it looks like, of course, there are members of the NPP who are in support of it.
Of course, there's one MP who is a sponsor. So
yes,
Reverend.
But you think about it this way, and sometimes I guess wonder why he's still a deputy minister in the Republic Party. It's an interesting development.
But that's also good for the party because
because
go to the
they say that he was part of it. Of course, other MPs withdrew last minute anyway. But there's this point to that Winston, Evans. Imagine President Akufo-Addo, who can bulldoze his way and say that change these parliamentary leadership and all of that. If that's what the people want, get him out of there. Who can actually say, I'll not listen to you people, your call for me to change what they call it, cannot get his MPs to do what he was expecting of them on this bill, single bill. You want you to.
So he didn't try.
I don't think that they gave it the priority that they thought was supposed to be. Because everybody in this world knew. The only country that did not receive a lot of flack from passing a similar bill was Nigeria. People don't know that. In fact, people today do not know that Nigeria even has a bill like that.
This is the other point. I mean, I had a conversation with an MPP person, a senior MPP person, who said, who was angry because at the time his fear was this, this whole, and his fear was not even the IMF. His fear was the Euro bondholders. That if you have institutional bondholders who actually have strong, gay lobbyists in there, they can say, we're not going to give you a deal.
And they may certainly have.
Yes.
We know that.
And he says, so why didn't the NPP foresee this day? And the other thing, you heard Apenyo Marking, I was listening to you when you spoke to Acquah Sante, who said that Apenyo Marking had indicated that after the passage of the bill, he went to the Jubilee House to have a meeting on how to deal with it. So these are not my words. He's saying it. But I was told then by this senior member that he's actually gone to the Jubilee House to actually have a discussion on this particular bill. And they are taking all of them. It looked like they're taking them by surprise. But he says, we should have seen this coming. So today, the NDC scored one over the NPP. They are waiting patiently.
Yeah. And the reason why this is a big deal, because it's an election year, is we've had the Catholic Bishops' Conference. We've had the Muslims. And I was doing PM Express with the Catholic Bishops' Conference and others. And the Catholic Bishops were very clear. They didn't make any bones about the fact that this, for them, will have implications at the polls. And they are going to make sure.
I listened to him.
By statement they have not made since the 90s.
Yeah.
And even the 80s.
This is the other point. The Catholic Bishops' Conference actually gives the president an escape route. They give the president an escape route by saying, but we expect these members to change so we can have a conversation about the custodial sentence.
Yes.
You have an escape route.
Take it back.
To say, take it back and go and take it out of it.
Now, and you're right, because they say they ask for that conversation, they're willing to detain a conversation around custodial sentence removal. Now, the Constitution said the president can write when he gets it. In fact, that's another thing we need to check, whether the bill has now been transmitted formally to him. Once he gets it, he has 14 days?
14 days
to write back to Parliament and tell Parliament, yes, I've signed, or second, I can't sign, but he must attach the reasons. And he can request for the amendments to be done. In other words, he can go back to Parliament and say, the custodial sentence, remove it, right? Yeah. He knows that he has the support of the Catholic Bishops' Conference already.
And again, then he can whip up his majority to push that.
Yeah, to push that.
But if it doesn't happen and Parliament says that we are united on this front, which is less likely to happen anyway, but we are united on this front, we want you to still sign.
Raymond,
they will have to get
but this could actually happen. Listen, the president may also weigh his options. He's going. There are some of these, and he has no power today to influence the next primaries. Akufo-Addo would know that.
Yeah, this is true.
There are some members of Parliament who will not budge. They wouldn't move. They will tell you that I won't do this.
Imagine
because if they
President Akufo-Addo
they're also going to lose their seat.
Imagine President Akufo-Addo asking Eugene Boachi MP, who is already out of Parliament, to not necessarily help him in Parliament.
But
and he will look in the face and say,
most likely to get those if the subject is about we like the bill, but just take away non-custodial. Yeah. Because you hear the Catholic back you on that front, right? Yeah. They do want to listen.
And you see, there's a lot of respect for these priests.
Yeah.
What they could have done better. And again, I don't know how. I thought our politics relied heavily on people engaging, negotiating. So if you know you have so much support from Catholic priests, why didn't you deploy them first to the committee? Tell them that, listen, because the Catholic priests went to endorse the bill. You remember?
Exactly.
There were 2 key members, very competent, some with more than 2 PhDs, went to sit with the committee and said, our position is that this and that should be the position. No problem. The conversation about whether or not custodial should be in should have then been introduced, and you got the support from the church saying that, please, I mean, why are you trying to worsen the state of sin in this case? And that conversation could have come in before we had all of this. But the time they introduced the amendment, last minute amendments period, you have reached a point where the lines were already drawn. Any attempt to do this was seen as filibustering, was seen as you deliberately acting in ways. You know, they started the conversation, oh, this will affect us, this will affect us. The people now started suspecting the MPs, who then will stand against it. Again, I also suspect that maybe the leadership change was part of the issue.
Yeah, but it has been suggested as an
because Osei Mensah had never presented.
There was an MP who actually alleged last week.
I think Ahmed Ibrahim.
Ahmed Ibrahim.
Oh, I see.
The minority whip.
I thought it was in the majority.
Alleges that it was part of the reason Osei Mensah was changed.
No, I think that if Osei Mensah was added them with Afenyomarke on this matter right from the beginning, that let's call some changes. Those changes could have been done. Do you know that the part of the bill where it says the thing about sex toys and this thing, it was Osei Mensah that introduced the same-sex part. He said, okay, we cannot stop people from using these things like sex toys or have oral sex. But we should say that we are only stopping it when it comes to female against female and male against male. He introduced that. So if it was possible for him to actually have brought in, or if he was mindful, if this was a big issue to government, if this was a matter of, because, and again, I sometimes even get worried about this. It says that the 3 year is the highest you can go.
Yeah.
It starts from a fine.
Yeah.
Or
up to
so judges can even decide in their lives that, oh, they just caught you in the corner standing with some man. No. Pay 2,000 cedi, you are done. But the fines are dictated there.
Yeah.
So I don't see how even that upon proper scrutiny.
Remember.
Yes.
That what we are saying is they don't actually want that
the bill.
It's just to delay it.
Yes.
But it's Evans.
Yeah.
If Osei Mensah proposed this amendment, you must ask the question, did the executive president at any point in time attempt to stop this bill?
Well, he would have done so if he wanted to through.
I don't think he did so.
No, but I'm saying
Which
that
means that, I mean, what I'm trying to say is that I get the impression that the president probably woke up one day and realized that, oh my goodness, where are we?
I don't think that's
because if he did, he would have stopped this.
I think it's more probable that he wanted to play along and thought this won't happen before the election.
Hey, because the speaker had told you that it will be passed in the life of this parliament.
Well, remember that. Remember. Let's play along let's play along with the conspiracy theory that Osei Mensah was removed partly because of this, right? If you watch Afenyomarke's strenuous efforts to try and delay
after the fact,
but that's my point. I'm coming back to ring up point. I mean, that the possible thinking of the president was that we could push this and delay it until remember that they were going to go on break 2. If you get Afenyomarke to filibuster and was very effective, and in fact he managed to delay it a few days, and was successful and got a bit more support on the subject of you could have moved it, right? So they possibly have that plan all along. Wait till you get close, wait till it become very live that you're going to pass it, and then get, maneuver around this and delay it.
But that's too late.
But it failed. But here's the point. Here's my point, though. Let's come back to the original subject we're dealing with. So he doesn't sign. He said he will sign. In fact, he said it in many words that I'm waiting. Let's look at the constitutional arrangement. So when it gets to his desk, he has to write back to Parliament, right? Yeah. To tell them that I'm not going to sign because the case is in the Supreme Court, assuming that he goes with that line formally. Parliament will have to tell him back that we don't accept. But then that would mean they have to vote 2/3, right? Yeah. Would they have the 2/3? And from what I hear, that is something that again will be done secret ballot, right? Secret ballot. If secret ballot, no, sorry, that is.
Yes, no, they can decide secret ballot later on, but actually you have to.
You have to stand up. You have to stand up. You have to stand up.
If that's if there's a division required.
Yes.
Like if you go through the usual ballot, but you have to determine.
If they stand up to do, and what's the name of the guy? Sam George has said that they will insist that is done by, every person visibly.
So they can see those who are against them.
Exactly.
You see, that's
which will force people to come and back.
You see, that's the other problem.
But you can be sick. You can be sick and not turn up in parliament.
And not come.
Nobody will die.
And not come. But if we don't come, the NDC guys will win.
You see.
Now, so either way, is a lose-lose situation.
And the speaker can actually decide. The speaker can actually rule that they do this.
And mindful of the kind of speaker and his interest in this particular bill.
Yeah. And you see, this is where I still think that the NPP allowed the NDC to score one over them.
That's true.
And you see, it's not just one, it's massive.
Yeah.
Even if the president says, I'm leaving it to Supreme Court. I've heard the Catholic Bishop Conference, and at that day I was doing PM Express. Sheikh Raymond
yes.
wanted to join. He wasn't part of that. He called my producers and wanted to join, and he joined. They view the president's stance on the matter as just an excuse not to sign.
Yeah.
So this explanation about I want to, they don't buy.
Very soon, people have started asking the question. Listen to this. I got a message from somebody who says, what is Baumia's position?
Yes.
What is
that's what I was coming
No, hold on.
And once we start that conversation,
in the last 1 week,
if it disagrees with the
John
president,
Dramani Mahama has mentioned this matter 3 times.
Yeah.
1 week. One single week. First when I heard it, I said, oh, really? Is he touching on this? Then he repeats it. Then now, the last one he said was that President Akufo-Addo is signing because he's afraid of some other people. Basically saying that your sovereignty is at stake. The guy doesn't care about you. He's actually putting your interest number 2.
What Akufo-Addo is doing now would actually lead people to now call on Dr. Bamia to speak on this.
Yeah.
And for his own electoral fortunes.
But
I'm making a point. He may
be forced to say something
that is in at variance.
You know that before the bill was passed,
and that's a problem.
Stephen Asamoah Boateng had said, then he should pass the bill.
Yeah, yes, because of course he's the minister. He knows what the chiefs are telling him.
Yeah, he said,
here's Bamia's biggest problem. I think for him more than anybody else in our history at this time is the most difficult place he can be. He is the first Muslim presidential candidate on the ticket of the 2 main parties. That's right. True. So first of all, for him, and the Muslims are vehemently
in support,
opposed to any movement and all that. That's
I think that the stance of Muslims are
even far stronger. You should see.
That is why I'm telling you that
visibly angry on the show.
That's why I'm telling you that if care is not taken, you're going to see another departure.
Yeah. Of course. I'm building a point to your point just to support you. So you have the Muslim community. They are so opposed to the point they want to lay down their lives for this matter. For them, it's beyond the votes.
Next week.
Okay?
They'll do a press conference.
Yes.
Christian Muslims.
Secondly, and Bawumia belongs to that. If the chief imam calls him today,
he has to.
So that's the first dilemma he has.
And secondly, Arimia consistently tells you that this is the will of the chief imam.
Yes.
He's not speaking for himself. This is the will of the chief imam.
Then you have the man, same Bawumia, who must balance his ticket somehow with the Christian majority population that he wants to appeal to.
That's true.
Because again, he is a Muslim candidate. His dilemma is he needs the Christians more than anybody else in our history.
Effectively, in the voting, that was determined anyway.
And the Christian community too say, if you don't sign this one, they've been very categorical. We are going to punish you in the polls, right? We've been talking about him bringing on United
Party. And the pastors will not come to Akufo-Addo.
Then you have the traditional authorities that everywhere he goes, he needs to visit the chief.
Yes.
To bless him, right? Also telling him we want the thing signed. And then you have the president, who obviously his shoestrings are attached to the president's thing, saying I won't sign. Look, it kills Bawumia.
And let me tell you something. Listen.
There's no way he can.
Adding up to all the other things.
He already has to deal with.
Let me make a point.
It's a complete knockout.
And if
he has to go into churches to campaign.
That's true.
He has to go to the mosque. He has to go to the priests and priestesses and the chiefs.
Raymond, let me tell you something.
When the Ministry of Finance thing came out, do you know the question I was asking? So we got a Muslim to be finance minister, and your first major act we know of you is writing that we are going to suffer in this and that way.
No, he is advice.
Yes. But that's why Abena came to say recently that it was leaked and that this was not even for public consumption because. People got really angry that you are jeopardizing.
No, he says you
go
to China.
In fact, people have not read the conclusion yet. And I said the conclusion because The conclusion says that we can build better systems to withstand it.
Yeah, that's what he says.
But the recommendation is what people are sticking out. And they are not saying anything wrong. That
you may have
delay.
But
you Muslim, you are telling the president to...
So we're always like that. But this is the other point. This is what actually could happen. I just want to chip in this before we go. If it goes to Parliament, and Parliament by a 2/3 majority directs the president to sign that would have mean a vote of no confidence in Acquah.
Effectively.
And that's what you do not want.
No,
because
that's
if you
never
get
happen.
there, people will now begin to call on you to resign.
That should never. We should not get to the other point.
If you're President Acquah, this is not what you want in your last 10 months of government.
No. A resignation of Acquah may be inure to the benefit of Mahmoud Bawumia.
That is the case, but that is if he will.
But he will resign, I mean.
No, I'm saying that even that, if it happens that way, it may be a way to draw a complete break.
Yeah.
That see, my people were not even for the man in the first place. Yeah. So you cannot say that I am.
Yeah, he can be that.
Yes. No, so it can be to his advantage. I agree with you. It is an unfair position to put the man. Yeah. Mindful of all the things that surrounds him. Mindful of the chances he has at the polls in the first place. The economic issues have. See, we have not even discussed those ones.
And I think
the other issues that, of course, and the
he
fact
needs
that
to go to a church or a mosque and go and say, if I were the president, January 1, January 8.
If I were the president,
2025, I'll sign it into law.
I think our time is up now.
Okay. I mean, but it's a very interesting challenge, actually.
Yeah.
Very interesting one. I mean, let's see how they handle it.
It will be one of the biggest issues that will determine the election.
The most emotive political subject
we can actually
of 2024.
If care is not taken, we'll stop talking about anything
economy and talk about
see this man is not
easy to understand.
Yeah.
Hey, it is
so
very
everybody
soft.
everybody can relate to it. You don't need to.
They say, "Why you put bunny?" Or say, "Man."
No. And the campaign will be sweet. I mean, if I'm NBC, I'm laughing all the way to the poll.
To the polling.
You know. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your day.